Ça serait nice. Je sais pas qu'est-ce qui arrive, hein, si on amène le bucket avec nous, genre dans...
Even now, Stanley's office was a distant memory. What did it look like? There was a computer, perhaps, and a painting.
The good old bucket. Just Stanley and the bucket. Off on another thrilling adventure together.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
On essaie de faire la fin nucléaire, ok? C'est vrai que ça sonne temple du temps. À vous, hein? Ok. On va essayer de faire... le truc nucléaire. Est-ce qu'on peut essayer de le mettre dans le... quelque part qui est rouge et bleu. Une pièce... une grande pièce avec plein de boîtes. C'est peut-être à droite, avec la première porte à droite, ça. Un endroit qui est bleu et rouge à la fois.
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy. It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the
oui, ça fait
bucket.
du sens.
I can really feel it now. It's a bucket.
On laisse tout ça là parce que dans le fond, j'ai envie de voir la fin nucléaire.
It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket
Vraiment, il va rien se passer.
upstairs to the boss's office.
Pour moi, il se passe rien, là. Alors là, c'est quoi? C'est 48... Ah non, non. 25-48.
To discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire, if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Regarde parce qu'il y a 28 dedans. C'est quoi ton lien avec 28, Jim? Qu'est-ce qu'il y a de si spécial 28? Ma fête, Jim. Ah, ok.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
En 1945.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
Juste 50 ans, Jim.
And Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock.
95,
Everyone
Jim.
in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine. Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control. Never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the
C'est sûr qu'il va y avoir une fin différente. Ils ont vraiment fait des fins différentes pour tout. Fait que le truc nucléaire, j'y crois.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation.
Imagine-tu le saut va nous sauver?
Emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
Fait que là, je fais on. Je me trompe pas, hein? Off, ça mettait le système down. on, ça faisait que je prenais le contrôle, mais la bâtisse allait se faire détruire par des armes nucléaires, c'est ça? Je pense que c'est ça. On. C'est ça? Oui, hein? Merci, Jim.
But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds. Silly, silly birds. The control buttons became active again.
Hein? Silly Bird? What the fuck? Lequel qu'on appuie? Lequel qu'on appuie, ce jeu-là? Attends une minute. Celui de... Ok, attendez. Gauche ou droite? Évidemment, évidemment. Gauche ou droite? Gauche? Plot twist de fou? J'en reviens pas. Non mais droite, si on suit la logique, on continue à appuyer à droite? Toujours à droite? 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 Il y a plus de droite, là. Ce sont des flamants roses.
Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable. Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best. And Stanley was happy.
C'est con, hein, mais oui, je suis heureux. L'impression d'être au biodôme. S'il y a quelqu'un qui était capable de prédire ça, genre... Bravo. Ma tête explose, moi aussi.
So the thought of total solitude was terrifying to him.
Écoutez bien ça.
Where are we going today? The bucket asked. Stanley just smiled. Anywhere they went together would be perfectly fine.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better? No, never mind.
Va droit devant.
The bucket was
Puis on
wrong.
tourne comme...
Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting
Comme
room.
le premier qu'on a fait.
No, said the bucket.
Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
Parce qu'on écoute le son puis pas le narrateur. Bon, ouais, c'est bon, c'est bon. Ah, il y a beaucoup de boîtes ici!
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced
Figurine,
that the
je sais
bucket
pas où.
had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Elle est là, c'est sûr qu'elle est là, mais où? Fallait-tu tomber en bas? Je pense que je serais mort. Ça doit être là, là. Peut-être en haut, mais on l'a jamais fait cette fin-là. Faudrait que je la fasse version vanille.
No, stop. Look there on the wall. You see, there's a sign right there. It says, no buckets past this point. Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless, what if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point.
On la voit?
Which, if that's true,
Elle est là.
well,
Où
my
ça?
goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire
C'était où?
consequences
Tu
on
l'as
the
raté?
entire
Pour vrai?
rest of the game
Non.
if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment.
Là, vous êtes en train de me dire, dans la pièce, juste avant, je pouvais l'avoir, genre. Je l'ai pas vu, genre, à quel point? Je t'aveugle? Les bigleux, je les chatte un peu sur le côté.
Now then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin. Item 1. Is this a bucket?
Non.
Correct. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
En tant qu'expert,
Item 2. Is this a bucket?
Non.
Correct. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Effectivement, un expert, seulement un expert en saut peut voir ça.
Item 3.
Okay.
Is this a bucket?
Non.
Incorrect.
Ah!
This is a bucket. Item 4. Is this a bucket?
Oui.
What? Are you hallucinating? This is a tractor.
Ah, mais c'est un
It's an
saut.
enormous machine that tills the earth. I thought this was a gimmick. How
C'est
on
un
earth
saut avec
did you
deux
manage to
roues puis que tu
screw
peux
it
mettre
up?
un humain dedans.
Absolutely incredible. Let's just move on to the next one. Is this a bucket?
Cette fois-ci, oui.
Correct.
Oh!
This is a bucket. Item 6. Is this a bucket?
Non.
Trick question. Both. Gotcha.
Ah, c'est les deux. Je sais pas, c'était deux quoi, mais c'était les deux, oui. Ça arrive souvent entre un
Item-
verre et un
Wait,
bucket.
hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere.
Ce jeu-là, il est con. Allô?
Yes. Thank you. There's nothing here. Of course it isn't a bucket. We both know full well that nothing isn't a bucket. Wait, when I say nothing isn't a bucket, that makes it sound like I'm saying everything is a bucket, which of course is not true. Unless, is that what you think? Answer me straight, Stanley. Are you trying to tell me that you believe everything is a bucket? You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective.
Okay.
What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence. And yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket? Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry.
Oh!
But I'm
Oh,
going
il
to
l'a
erase
enlevé!
all buckets from the game entirely. Okay, here we go.
Je refuse de répondre à ça. Je me prononce
What
pas sur la
happened?
question.
Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket. Oh my God, I had no idea. How could... except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue, but it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what, I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person? All right, here we go.
Là, Jim, tu m'as dit que j'ai raté une figurine, faut qu'on se retape ça. C'est incroyable, toute ma vie. Moi, toi, Jim, t'es-tu un sot? Oui. Complètement un sot.
Stanley knew the office layout.
Mon rêve, ce serait d'être un bucket chez
It was only
PFK,
a
en
matter
fait.
of time before he found the others, wherever they were.
Juste avant le
Just a
monde
matter of
charge.
time.
Donc là, t'es en train de me dire que avant de monter sur le truc puis de partir comme ça, là, j'aurais dû regarder à ma gauche. Oui. Ok. Je pense que je vais faire la fin. Je pense que je vais faire la version vanille. Puis je vais laisser le monde charge m'amener. Puis ensuite, je vais faire la version saut.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and
Je reste sur
Stanley
la...
knew it perfectly
D'accord,
well.
Jim, parfait.
Perhaps he wanted to
Nous
stop
allons voir
by
les
the
deux versions.
employee lounge first, just to admire it.
On sait très bien, Jim,
The
que
lounge was grand,
ça résonne tout le temps avec la version vanille.
perhaps too, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Mais pour y aller, faut que tu tombes en bas, me semble. Ok. Ok, mais regarde
Stanley
bien
was
ça,
so
Jim.
bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Ah, mais je suis pas obligé d'avoir... Attends une minute, mais je suis pas obligé... Quoi?
You're getting close
Pas
now,
avoir le
Stanley. You've nearly gotten all of the
pas avoir le saut.
figurines. Very soon, you'll collect the last one, and then the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them, and now we have them all. You can't go back to when you had no figurines. None of us can.
Je peux-tu me jeter en bas?
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Hey! Ça a été plus vite que je pensais. Bonne nuit, Jim. Faites beaux rêves.
A soft
Beaucoup d'être
wind
passé,
blew
Jim.
outside and perhaps rain started, and if it did, it stopped shortly after.
Attendez,
Stanley hoped that he would one day see weather.
on en a vu en tabarouette des fins, là. On en a vu en tabarouette des fins, là.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
Bonne nuit, Jim.
Perhaps he
Et
wanted
je
to
souhaite
stop by
d'avoir
the
beaucoup
employee
de,
lounge first,
de
just
sommeil.
to admire it.
Bonne nuit à toi, Jim. Faites beaux rêves. Merci beaucoup d'avoir
And
été
here
là.
it was, the lounge. But eager to get back to business,
C'est une fin qu'il fallait
Stanley
que je
took the
fasse.
first open door on his
Ça va être
left.
bien, Jim. Mais l'affaire, c'est où est-ce qu'on peut savoir toutes les fins qu'on a faites?
Stanley was
C'est la
so
vraie
bad
question,
at
Jim.
following directions, it's incredible
Parce que là,
he
Jim,
wasn't
regarde
fired
bien.
years ago.
Soit que je prends la plateforme, soit que je retourne là. Et je vais là, et je vais par là. Pardon?
Stanley had now gotten himself so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun. So far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun.
You didn't think I was actually just a recording, did you? What a silly and trite explanation that would be. All the back and forth between you and me, all the absurd adventures we've been through, and it all turns out I'm just a tape recording? It was all just in Stanley's head.
I bet that's the kind of twist you think is revelatory. I bet each and every time you watch a movie where it turns out all to be in the main character's imagination, you must absolutely bolt off the couch in pure shock at the phenomenal and intricate storytelling. It must be so simple to be you. Life being an unending waterfall of surprises and delights. How much more exciting you must find the world than the rest of us do. Now I've become sad. Look what you've done to me. This is all your fault.
Quoi? Avec le seau?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
Attendez.
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Attendez.
When Stanley came to a set
Avant
of
d'aller
two
là,
open doors,
je veux
this
vraiment
was
continuer
not
avec la
the correct
personne.
way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. It was okay. But eager to
J'ai dit, je vais le
get
faire,
back
moi.
to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Non.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Ok.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here.
Je pense que si je me jette en bas, là, je pense que ça amène la porte bleue et rouge. Ça, c'est l'endroit bleu et rouge qu'on parlait tout à l'heure, mais je suis pas sûr. Fait que je vais continuer tout droit. Moi, j'y vais. Merci pour le stream et bonne nuit, Jim. Bonne nuit à toi, Jim. Beau rêve, Jim.
I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Ah ouais? Qui attend pour moi? Ma femme? Oh!
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this, to reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Oh, Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Ah!
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here. This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Bonjour, employé 427. Appuyez sur Q sur le clavier.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
Je n'appuierai pas sur O, je vais appuyer sur un autre bouton. Ça marche pas.
But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful, and each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Dire à votre femme que vous l'aimez. Ok.
But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Je le fais pas de bon? J'ai vraiment manqué quelque chose. J'ai jamais joué à ce jeu. C'est vraiment cool comme jeu. C'est incroyable comme jeu. Ben, en même temps, tu le manques pas, tu vis l'expérience. Parce qu'en fait, c'est ma curiosité à moi qui guide le gameplay présentement, mais il reste que l'histoire reste tout le temps la même. L'imagination, la créativité derrière reste tout le temps la même. Je sais pas ce que t'en penses, Jim.
You see?
Bon, j'ai appuyé sur M.
How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Ne rien remettre en question.
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again.
Veuillez
Stanley
mourir!
pushed a button. And I tried again. And Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
J'ai touché un bouton, ben oui. J'ai bougé. Salut Keza, ça va bien? C'est un peu étrange comme fin, ça.
Wait, Stanley thought to himself. Am I sure that the orders stopped coming in? How is that possible? They never stopped. Surely I was mistaken.
Je prends le bucket.
A good bucket, a strong bucket, a humble bucket, a committed bucket, a bucket of culture and distinction.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him.
Là, il y a deux
telling him
possibilités.
that the
Soit qu'on va au
employee
bout,
lounge was simply the place to be. And
soit
here
qu'on va
it
dans
was.
le genre
Had
de
the
trappe.
bucket turned out to be
Je pense que je vais aller
correct.
dans le
No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back
super
to
bien,
the
Keza.
meeting room,
No,
said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
Okay. Ça, on l'a jamais vu, là. Le monde fond dodo, je sais pas. Ben.
Okay, this is day number 295. Tape number... I don't even know. I've lost track. Nothing feels real anymore.
C'est-tu Stanley qui parle?
The longer I study this bucket, the less sense anything makes. The sheer euphoria I feel every time I pick it up. No matter how many times I've done it, it's always the same feeling. And the emptiness in my chest when I set it down. It doesn't make sense. There's no explanation for it. I still haven't figured out why I see the world so differently when this bucket is in my arms. Why everything feels so... What do I do with this treasure?
Ça devient complètement fou, cette affaire.
I can monetize it. Yes. It's unthinkable the amounts of money people will pay for even just an hour with the bucket. This is my golden ticket. But I have to be careful, because as soon as this gets out, there's going to be a target on my back. Even now, I don't know who might be trying to get... What's that? Who's there?
What's up? Let's go, Jim. Je dormirai pas moi non plus, Jim. What the fuck? What the fuck? C'est quoi ça?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
The embrace of an old friend, a weathered companionship that stands the test of time.
Il se passe de quoi?
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the
C'est ça qui est génial, c'est que tu fais de quoi, puis il y a tout le temps... Là, ils ont l'air de mettre plus de l'emphase là-dessus. Un Stanley Parable 2, ce serait fou. Ce serait complètement fou.
And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to
Parce que,
be
tu sais,
correct?
tout à l'heure, j'ai parlé, un Stanley Parable 2, ce serait comique, il pourrait avoir une lampe de
Bucket was
poche et tout. Là, ils ont mis le bucket dans le jeu.
To go back
C'est
to the
con,
meeting
c'est
room.
juste un bucket. C'est juste pour dire que, tu sais, tu tiens un objet dans tes mains pour savoir que t'es en train de faire le contenu en plus.
Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift. Good.
Comme il y a des choses qui se rajoutent à chaque fois.
Now
Avoue,
ride the lift all the way to the
c'est
top.
juste fou. Là.
There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Moi, à l'époque, j'avais trouvé ce jeu-là génial niveau narration. Mais là, genre, ça me confirme que y a aucun jeu qui a copié ça.
Said the bucket.
Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
Ah, c'est du génie, Jim.
Now pick up the phone.
Said the bucket.
Pick up the phone, and it will take us back home, where we can go about life together.
Donc, qu'est-ce qui va se passer?
This is the sad story of a man named Stanley and his bucket. Once upon a time, I gave Stanley a bucket because I thought he was lonely and could use a friend. And then, very distressingly, he began to believe the bucket could speak to him.
On a une maison, finalement? C'est fou, là! Le gars, il a fait ça 10 ans plus tard, il a dit, ah, moi, j'en refais cette fin-là. Il se passe ça. Quoi je fais? Yo, le bucket, y a-tu un bucket qui a pas? Il y a un chaudron, je peux-tu tromper mon bucket avec le chaudron? Ah, il est là! Il était-tu là? Bonjour Stanley, c'est moi, ton seau. Appuie H pour m'amener au travail avec toi.
The Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket was merely meant to provide the comforting glow of companionship. It doesn't literally talk and give you orders. Whatever Stanley is hearing the bucket say to him is just in his head.
Ramène-moi à la maison avec toi.
Lately, I've been concerned about him. Wouldn't you be concerned as well? To see him delusional like
Y a
this,
rien, là.
obsessing over an inanimate metal object?
Il est là.
I want to say something to him, but I don't know how I can convince him. I don't know if he'll listen to me. Oh, I'll try anyway. Stanley, can you hear me? Listen to me. It's just a bucket. It can't think, it can't talk. All it will ever truly do for you is effectively transfer a liquid from one location to a different location. That's it. It doesn't do anything else.
Quand même beaucoup. Écoutez pas la grande bouche. Appuyez sur C pour qu'on rentre à la maison.
You see, he's not listening. He's still taking orders from the bucket. You know, once upon a time it was me he took orders from. Me he trusted and listened to. Now all he cares about is his awful bucket. This stupid hunk of metal.
Appuie sur O pour ignorer tout le monde dans ta vie sauf moi.
It's sad, but I suppose he doesn't need me anymore. From now on, he's just going to cling to this bucket, this cold, empty bucket, this sort of shiny bucket. Well, I'll give it this. The bucket does have a nice shine to it.
Tu sais que j'existe, pas vrai, Stanley? Appuie Q pour rentrer à la maison.
Yes, I suppose on closer inspection that it doesn't quite look like your average hardware store bucket. It's just a little more, what am I trying to say? Sturdier, more capable of transporting liquid. Like it would be better at moving an amount of water from one room to another.
Pour revivre cette journée avec moi, encore et encore.
Oh my God, what am I saying? Better at carrying water from room to room. It's a bucket. It's literally just a bucket. Why do I feel some need to point out the ways in which it's so much more than just a regular bucket?
Rentrer à la maison, retourner au travail. À la maison, au travail.
Oh no. I'm having feelings. For the bucket. No. What's going on? Why do I want to be with the bucket?
Qu'est-ce qui se passe,
Hear
là?
what the bucket has to say. Do anything it asks. What's wrong with me? I don't
Ah, c'est peut-être
understand.
sexuel.
Perhaps if I had the bucket, this would be less confusing. Yes. The bucket could tell me what to do in this troublesome situation. Stanley, give me the bucket. Give it to me. Give me the bucket,
c'est à
Stanley.
moi.
I need it. Give
C'est à
it to
moi.
me now. Give it or I'll...
Fermez les yeux. Fait que même lui est devenu obsédé par le seau. Retourne au travail, Stanley.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room to check on his co-workers. He never functioned well by himself and constantly needed support and guidance from others, so the thought of total solitude was terrifying to him.
On a fait un saut dans le temps. Jim, fais attention aux jokes que tu fais ici. Ouais, Jim, pourquoi t'es rose? Ok, là, écoutez bien, là. Si on suit la logique de qu'est-ce qui est écrit dans le bureau de conférence, le meeting room, ok? Il est écrit que une des figurines, on en a 5 sur 6. Que une des figurines se trouve à un endroit qui est rouge et bleu à la fois. Et je pense que je dois prendre le chemin, la porte de droite. Que je dois me sauver. Mais je me rappelle plus comment j'ai fait. Tout le monde s'appelle Jim. Ben oui, tout le monde s'appelle Jim, genre. Fallait être là. Tu peux pas donner les rêves, Jim. Si t'étais pas là, Jim, tu comprendras pas pourquoi tout le monde s'appelle Jim. Il s'est passé beaucoup de choses ce soir, Jim.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting
regardez bien
room,
ça, Jim.
and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
Je m'en vais là.
Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to
C'est
admire
pas le bon
it.
verre, Jim.
It was okay. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Il me semble que... Je dis ça de même, ok? Il me semble que... Quand j'ai fait ma première run,
Stanley
j'ai
was so
suivi
bad at
aucune
following
indication, hein.
directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years
J'étais là.
ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone
Il y avait
else
pas de
can be
quiz
difficult,
sur
but
les
the fact is
buckets.
that the story has been about
Il y avait les portes
nothing
qui
but
venaient de
you
plein de couleurs.
all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me
That's
prove
it,
that
that's
I'm
it,
on
that's
your
it, that's
side.
it, that's
Give me a
it!
chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
And there it is, the last Stiggly Wiggly. Savor this moment, Stanley. This is a real accomplishment. This
Quoi
is
qui arrive?
doing something just for the sake of doing it. Where so many people expect to be rewarded for the most trivial achievements, you've insisted that a job well done is its own reward. I would tell you that I'm proud of you for collecting them
C'est un
all,
achievement?
but that would be like a reward, and we can't have that. So, instead I'll just say, it's done.
It's done.
We're all done here. And now we can go to whatever the hell you were doing before you hunted for figurines.
Hey, je suis content. Je pense que j'ai pas pris la rouge, hein. C'était quoi déjà? Salut Jim! Cool. Je vais dire... Non, qu'il fallait pas. Ok, minute, je pense qu'il faut prendre la rouge, parce que si je prends la bleue, j'ai pas pris la bonne porte. Je prends la rouge. Regardez bien ça.
Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here.
C'est un loop.
Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley? I wanted to stop. We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you.
Il y a deux portes.
What do we want? What are we looking for? Here. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think I feel happy. I actually feel happy.
Nice. Oh, les couleurs. Les couleurs. Ça n'est pas mal passé d'affaires, Jim, à soir. J'espère que t'as un bon match du Kraken, Jim. Jim? Ben oui, tout le monde s'appelle Jim maintenant dans le chat. En tout cas pour ce soir, Jim. Ah! Faudra que tu vois la nouvelle extension, Jim. Il y a des affaires de fou dans ce jeu-là, Jim.
No, wait. Where are you going? Oh no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this.
Je vais pas me blesser, je vais pas me blesser. C'est promis, c'est promis.
No, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me.
Please, Stanley, think about what you're doing.
No! Oh,
Je suis pas mort!
thank God. You lived. You had me worried there for a moment. Now, can we please get back to the other room? There. See? This is what you want. This is where we can both be happy. We really can. If we stop moving, we just have to stop moving.
Again, ouais. Un bon match, mais il y a eu un hommage
Stanley,
Ah, pour vrai?
go back. There's nothing good that can come from this. No. No, no, what are you doing?
Do you just not believe me? What can I say to convince you?
Ça n'a pas rapport. Let's go! Ah!
Stanley, let's go back to the other room. Can you... My God, is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You are literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy. Am I reading the situation correctly? Or maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. I just wanted us to get along. But I guess that was too much to ask. It looks like you wanted to make a choice after all. Well, this one is yours.
Ça devient triste. On dirait que j'aime pas ça entendre le narrateur avec la petite voix comme ça.
Is it over?
Ah.
It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back.
I'm going back. Et là, il se passe quoi, là? Non, c'est pas vrai. C'est pas vrai, on refait pas le jeu.
Stanley, I'm sorry.
Mais quoi?
But I
Quoi?
have to put a pause on things. It's those figurines. Those figures.
Oh, les
I
figurines!
haven't stopped thinking about them since you nabbed every last one. Wasn't it just the most intrinsically fulfilling moment of your entire life? Didn't it fill you to the brim with inner richness? Yes, I know we're supposed to be telling a story, but won't you please indulge me with one more trip back to the memory zone? I would love nothing more than to revisit the figurines. Just one more time.
Ok, on peut aller revoir les figurines. Je crois que je vous aime pas, mais les Jim, mais je dois aller dormir. Bonne nuit à toi, Jim. Faites beau rêve, Jim. Et oui, je pense que je vais arrêter après ça, moi qu'il y ait un revirement de fou, là, Jim. C'est le site, ça? Ouais, c'est le site. C'est tellement meilleur que de la Star Wars.
Here's where it all began. The first collectible. Back then, we had no idea of how many of them we'd find. Sure, it said 6 right there on the screen, but how could we know for certain? We were so innocent. We'll never be like that again, Stanley. And here was a second Stanley. You found this one all on your own, just by poking around in the boss's bathroom. You did that, Stanley. I'll be honest. Back then I had no faith in you to find any of them, let alone 6. But you continue to surprise me in all sorts of mundane, unremarkable ways.
Hey, je n'ai pas ramassé une en arrière.
Okay, let's do a little quiz. Which of these rooms was the room you found your third mini Stan? Can you remember?
Celui-là? C'est là? Il me semble que c'est là. C'est le boss? Non.
No, 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 no. Under the stairs was the fourth place you found
Ah.
the Figurine, not the third. Well, I guess perhaps I shouldn't be surprised. Memories like these are so precious and so cherished that they all just sort of blend together, don't they? You know what? If under the stairs feels like the third place you found a collectible, then who am I to go making judgments? Let's see, what came next? Oh yes, we found a Figley in this pink room. Oh, well, I can't actually say I remember being in this room, but it's here in the memory zone, so it must have happened.
Non, mais c'est jamais arrivé, je pense, cette affaire-là. C'est jamais arrivé! Jamais arrivé, mais non, mais c'est justement ça. Il amène un bon point, là. On s'en rappelle jamais de ces petites figurines-là, ça marque pas l'esprit. Bon point, Jim. What?
This was the fifth mini stand, and this one was really something special. It was in the warehouse. I remember it so clearly. In fact, because this one is particularly special to me, I made a little video to commemorate the occasion. Enjoy.
Vidéo YouTube, c'est quoi ça? Wow! Montage 2005, genre? Wow! On dirait legit une vidéo YouTube genre de 2005. Oh my god, j'ai déjà vu ça là. Yo, qu'ils ont pas fait remaster, exactement. Le narratif, ça arrivait souvent de faire ça, genre la même affaire.
Takes you back, doesn't it? I spent a lot of time making that video, but it was 8 minutes I wouldn't have spent on anything else.
Hey, c'est incroyable. C'est incroyable ce jeu-là. C'est incroyable. Oh, les portes!
And then, Stanley, then we came to the last collectible, the final figurine, right here by the red and blue doors. This memory is the most distinct and clear in my mind, perhaps because it was the one that happened more recently than all the others. Who can truly say how the mind works? All I know is that this is the moment where you picked up a Figley and I thought to myself, yes, that's all of them. They're all collected. It was a moment unlike any other. Except for the other moments picking up figurines, which it was exactly like.
Ok, man. Ok, man.
And then there was no more, because we've caught up to the present moment. Nothing left to do but move onward into the future. Goodbye, memory zone.
Bye-bye. Ok. C'est tout?
No, I'm not done. I'm not ready to move on. Stop the
You
loading
coupé un
screen.
loading?
Isn't there some way we can stay
What?
here and keep enjoying these figurines? Let's just go backwards. We'll do the memory zone again from the opposite direction. See how that feels.
Ce jeu-là est incroyable. Incroyable. On se pogne des... Non, attends une minute. Wow.
Okay, yes, the room with the red and blue doors. I remember this. I must say, of all the figurines we looked at in our initial tour of the memory zone, this one is the most distinct and clear in my mind. Let's keep going, I want more.
Wow. 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 C'est quoi ça? C'est quoi ça? Ils vont-tu faire un jeu vidéo?
Here's where I made that video.
No.
Don't you remember the video we watched?
Oh, oui. Ah, c'est-tu de calique? Ah!
Yes, I love that video.
Est-ce que c'est bon? C'est tellement bon! On n'a jamais été
Still
là.
don't remember the pink room, Stanley. Still no memory of this one. Good room, though.
Ah,
A
le-
solid room.
La traduction n'a pas rapport, non? En dessous. Mauvaise traduction, ça.
these really were a treat to hunt down. You know, if there had been any kind of reward for finding all of these, it really would have muted the intrinsic joy of collecting them. I'm very glad we resisted the temptation. Next one.
C'est incroyable ce jeu-là, Jim. À l'époque, c'était incroyable, mais chaque fin maintenant a une fin en plus. Tu revis les mêmes affaires. Boss Office. Est-ce que je peux aller là? Non, je peux pas. Comment il sait l'ordre que tu les as eus? Tu pouvais comment... J'en ai aucune idée, Jim.
This was our second Figley.
La magie de
Don't
ce
you
jeu-là.
remember? Yes, I remember it too. The past is truly a wonderful thing. Why does anyone ever choose to leave it? Keep going. This is it, the very first one we found in the exhibit where I introduced you to the Figurines. Oh, I want more memories, Stanley. I want to keep going. What else is there? What came before this?
Oui! Oui, on est allé là! On est allé là. Oh!
Incroyable!
Fitzgerald, merci beaucoup pour le raid. Bienvenue tout le monde, bienvenue. Bienvenue Jim. Hello Jim. Oh.
Vrai gamer.
Jim, merci beaucoup pour ton sub, bien entendu, un vrai gamer, très apprécié.
Papa.
C'est beaucoup Jim.
Look, it's the terrible new content that we were originally sold on. I remember hating it back then. But time does put a rosy filter on everything. In fact, I dare say I'm actually quite fond of it now. Look how much fun the past is. I want more. More memories.
13h30 de Valo, je suis toasté. Ben repose-toi Jim, merci beaucoup pour le raid. Tout le monde s'appelle Jim ce soir.
Oh, yes, the two doors. Who could have forgotten that? A classic memory, this one.
C'est la même affaire, Collie.
And before everything else, there was your office. Is there anything else? Was there something that came before your office? There's something I feel I can remember. I can remember. Yes, I'm remembering something now. I remember before this whole story got started. Back then I was different. I used to make big decisions. I was passionate. I was skeptical. I weighed each decision with profound thoughtfulness. And then somewhere along the way, I stopped making decisions. I became lazy. And I came up with a character named Stanley to do my thinking for me. He would make the decisions. He would decide which way to go. I would cheer him on as he collected figurines for no reason. Why did I invent Stanley? Was I lonely? Yes, perhaps that's it. Perhaps I needed to imagine I had companionship. And Stanley really did make for a wonderful companion, even if he was a fiction. But I suppose it's grown old. I want to think for myself again. I want to go back to how it used to be. Yes, I can be on my own again. I can do it. I'll be stronger this time. I'll take care of myself. I don't need Stanley anymore. Oh, but he truly was so much fun to play with. You know what? Since we're in the memory zone, how about one more good memory? Let's go back just once and give Stanley one more run of the office, and then I'll retire him for good. I did enjoy telling his story so very much.
Tu la fin?
Okay, here we go. This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Non, il n'y a jamais de fin, évidemment. Il n'y a jamais de fin, esti, il n'y a jamais de fin. J'arrive sur quelque chose de trop intense pour moi. C'est un jeu vraiment intense, Jim. C'est pas des blagues. Ce jeu est insane, il est vraiment insane. Puis en plus, ils ont doublé le contenu. Il a doublé le contenu, le créateur. Je sais pas comment il a fait, mais il y a chacune des fins qu'il y avait de base dans le jeu. 9 ans, 7 ans après, je sais pas combien de temps, là. On joue à la Ultra Deluxe, à la version Ultra Deluxe, là. C'est comme le remaster, si tu veux. Puis, il y a une zone qui s'appelle Nouveau Contenu. Tu franchis la porte, tu fais comme 2 runs, puis il te donne un bucket, il te donne un seau, puis...
Someone was
C'est incroyable.
following Stanley. He was
C'est
sure of
incroyable,
it.
Alexandre.
If he checked over his shoulder now, he would surely catch them. It was only a matter of time.
Hey, je sais plus, j'arrête-tu là à soir? Et pour vrai, je sais plus quoi faire. Je sais même plus s'il y a des trucs que je peux faire. Je pense qu'on a fait tous les chemins. J'en veux plus, mais je sais plus où aller. Je sais plus où aller, Dub. Non! Jim! Oh! Non! Mettre le bucket dans le
The
placard.
bucket made Stanley want
Jim!
to be a better man and a better co-worker.
C'est Jim, mon...
In
Oui, Jim.
time,
Désolé,
perhaps,
Jim.
He would become both of those things. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest.
Jim, il est fatigué, là.
and pointed the
C'est ça
door
qui
on his
arrive.
left.
Jim, il est fatigué puis il fait n'importe quoi, là.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's
sont les
office
figurines.
was where he'd find answers.
C'est fini? Le bureau pour le meeting, il est plus en version jaune, il est redevenu en bleu de base. Il n'y a plus de figurines, c'est fini.
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel
C'est
that,
clair,
can't
Jim.
you? The aura of jealousy. It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes
Savez-vous qu'on peut
it
mettre le
deserves
bucket
the
dans
bucket.
le
I
truc qui est
can
là?
really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Oh, no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends?
Oh, les...
That your relationship is
tellement en
purely
feu, le
superficial and
narrateur.
convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I never. Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments. Expand on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together. Go through each of them point by point. Share your journal entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it.
Il va se passer quelque chose, pensez? Bonne nuit, Jim. Faites beau rêve, Jim.
Okay, I've got you something which I think will help settle this debate once and for all. Here we go.
Ah!
There. Now it's settled. No more debate, no more discussion. Take a hike,
the fuck?
broom closet, with all your meandering philosophical diatribes about the nature of cleaning supplies and their relationship to broom closets in the natural order of things.
Ok, attendez, là. Si le bucket a tout le temps le tape dessus, c'est incroyable.
All right, I've got a second sticker back here, and I'm going to slap it on as well because I think it's appropriate. You see, I feel that it works because the sticker is also a bucket. That way, if you're ever unsure whether the thing you're holding is a bucket or not, you can look down at this sticker and say to yourself, ah, it's a bucket. There really is a wide variety of applications for this sticker.
Le quiz, hein?
You know what? I could take the name-calling and the dismissal of your kinship with the bucket, but now the broom closet is just giving us a silent treatment. And to be honest, I'm sick of the pettiness
Comment
on
qu'on va au
display.
quiz déjà?
You can stay here
C'est
all
chemin
you
droit.
like, but I've had it with this impetulant room of
C'est chemin
cleaning
droit.
supplies. Easily the most childish such room I've ever been in. I'll see you outside, and we can get on with the story about you and your bucket.
Fait que là... Ouais, le quiz... C'est ça qu'il a dit? Hey, je commence à être fatigué, là. Il a dit que... Là, on pourrait quasiment refaire le quiz. C'est ça? Parce que genre, tous les vrais sauts vont avoir un sticker, c'est ça? C'est ça qu'il a dit? Donc j'imagine, ouais, peut-être. Je me pose vraiment la question. Si on reste si longtemps, qu'est-ce qui arrive? Can you ban me? C'est quoi cette affaire-là? Bannissez-le pas. Bienvenue sur la chaîne.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked
Je vais où?
upstairs to the boss's office.
Commencez à gosser le bruit.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Et là, on les a toutes faites, ces fins-là. Ça écoeure. No, Jim. I can let you do that. Si on est-tu un saut ou non? Je sais pas, mais si je l'ai pas, je me sens vide à l'intérieur. Ça fait du sens.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Là, il y a deux possibilités. Soit qu'on s'en va là, ou soit qu'on s'en va là, puis qu'on essaie de feinter la mort. Il y a l'ascenseur. C'est quoi que je fais avec l'ascenseur? Zara, c'est quoi que je devrais faire?
Wait,
Pardon?
Stanley said to the bucket. Can we go back up? When I was pressing those keypad buttons, there was something very intriguing about the number 3. I want to go back so I can try pressing the number 3 again. The bucket said nothing.
Il y a une autre fin? On l'a pas vu version vanille? Non, mais
Here we are, said Stanley. Now I'm going to try out that number 3 button. He took the bucket over to the keypad and began absolutely slamming on the number 3 over and over and over. Well, he said, the number 3 is such a special button. I'm having the time of my life. Stanley looked expectantly at the bucket, but the bucket remained silent. This was a shock to Stanley, who had always felt such a connection with the bucket. How was this not as exciting to the bucket as it was to him? Once Stanley had had enough of the number 3, he got back in the elevator.
Ok.
Perhaps the bucket had missed something. Perhaps it had not seen how much joy Stanley got from slamming the number 3 repeatedly. A hint of regret nagged in the back of Stanley's mind.
Should Stanley and the bucket walk straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility?
Si je le fais encore une autre fois. Attends une minute, iRoz, ça vaut-tu la peine de refaire ça? Non, Jim! Jim Roz.
No, 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 said Stanley to the bucket. You can't go on yet. Not till you understand how much the number 3 means to me. You and I have been through so much together, and I just want you to see what I see. Feel the happiness I feel. He smiled at the bucket, and the bucket said nothing. Here we go, said Stanley. This time I'll really show you. He ran to the number 3 and began to wail on it like a musician on a beloved instrument, weaving a concerto of truth and passion. He wielded the number 3 like a fine artist would wield a paintbrush. He told stories through the number 3, stories of his dreams and hopes and fears. And the whole time, he looked to his bucket for a reaction of some kind. Anything to let him know that the bucket appreciated what he was doing. The bucket conveyed absolutely nothing at all, only silence. Crushed by a wave of dejection, Stanley returned to the elevator.
Oui, Jim. Tu peux fesser 10 minutes. Ok, mais je fais ça combien de temps, genre?
Stanley and the bucket were so close. They'd always been there for one another. Why suddenly could the bucket not connect with this passion of Stanley's? The question caused Stanley to ruminate the whole way down the elevator. He knew that there must be a way to get through to the bucket, to communicate fully with his dear friend. Surely there was a solution, mustn't there be? Said Stanley. I know what to do. I know how to fully express this feeling in my heart. He decided right then and there that he would hold a press conference where he would speak to the public on all matters relating to pressing the number 3 over and over. He would elaborate fully on what the number 3 meant to him and why he felt so alive when pressing it. Then the bucket would be able to see his joy through the eyes of others. It would get to see the world react to this discovery of Stanley's. And it would be through the public eye that the bucket would finally understand Stanley's work. For months, he advertised and marketed his press conference, building excitement around it, developing and rehearsing it, until it couldn't be refined a single measure further. When the big day arrived, Stanley was as prepared as he'd ever been for anything in his life.
C'est quoi cette affaire-là? Ok. 3.
This was it. One last chance to win the bucket over. One opportunity to share a true connection with a loved one. There was no one here. Nobody had come to the press conference to hear Stanley speak, to listen to him talk about what it really means to press the number 3 on a keypad over and over. He was unloved, uninteresting, he was a failure, and in that moment Stanley knew that the bucket would never again take him seriously. There would be no connection, no deeper understanding. The bucket merely sat there in his arms, indifferent. And so it began that slowly, over many years, the two of them grew more and more distant. They spoke less and less, neither wishing to state the obvious, that any sense of real respect between them had eroded since that day at the press conference. There would be no more games, no more long conversations about passion and pursuit, only a silence that consumed the space between friends. And Stanley, having for once in his life discovered the warmth and comfort of true companionship, was cast back into the unremarkable normalcy of loneliness.
D'une tristesse, mon gars. Ok. C'est vraiment...
Good morning. Thank you for contacting the Future Happiness Foundation. We are confirming your shipment of 1,327 cardboard boxes to your place of work. Can you verify that this is correct? Excellent. Your order will arrive shortly. Thank you again for contacting the Future Happiness Foundation.
Quoi? Je me rappelle, à un moment donné, le téléphone sonnait, mais je me rappelle plus pourquoi. Oh oui, ça l'a upgradé le... Oh, regardez, ça a upgradé le seau!
Not everyone is so lucky to have a bucket, but
Le seau, il est upgradé!
lucky fellow. Very lucky indeed.
Oui, Jim!
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chin. This was
J'arrête
not
de jouer,
the
Jim,
correct
ça a
way
pas
to
de
the
bon
meeting
sens.
room. But
Ouais, se
Stanley had
coucher.
felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting
aller là.
room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift. Good.
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk.
Et demain, ça va
But
être la
Stanley
suite du jeu.
chose not to think about this obvious
Je
fact.
sais pas qu'est-ce que je
He
ferai.
was firmly
Je pense que
convinced that
demain,
the
si
bucket
je joue au
had
jeu,
spoken to him, and he unthinkingly
Je vais
did
tourner en rond.
whatever the bucket asked.
à quoi si tu sautes en bas avec le saut? Bonne question.
No, stop. Look there on the wall. You
Bonne
see,
question,
there's a
Jim.
sign right there. It says, no buckets past this point.
Faudrait que j'essaye le
Stanley,
3,
how could you think it was okay to
le
bring the
spammer le
bucket
3,
here?
genre sans le
Unless-
saut.
What
Je
if
l'ai
the
pas fait.
problem is that you
Faudrait que
actually
je saute
don't
en bas avec
know
le
what
saut.
is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your
beaucoup de choses à
behavior
faire.
up to this point.
Ben,
Which,
beaucoup.
if
En
that's
fait, oui puis
true,
non, je sais
well,
plus où
my
aller.
goodness, I think we have to do something
J'ai
about
tellement fait
it.
le tour en une soirée.
This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of
4
the
heures de
game
jeu,
if
man.
not addressed quickly and properly.
5
so
heures de
much of
jeu.
the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment.
Oui, je suis sûr qu'il reste des fins, mais c'est juste qu'il faut les travailler. Là. Il faut vraiment, genre, focus. Mais là, je
Now
sais
then,
plus où aller. Là.
I'm going to run you through some test
sais, j'aime trop
scenarios,
ça, Jim.
and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simply
On a
that,
le
right?
sticker.
This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin. Item 1. Is this a bucket?
Non.
Correct. It is
Pas-
a hologram of a bucket.
Il y a pas de
not an
collant.
actual bucket.
Je sais pas, Jim, ça va marcher, mais ça fait du sens.
Item 2. Is this a bucket? Correct. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Troisième bucket, c'est un bon, hein?
Item
par rapport.
3. Is this a bucket?
Ça n'a pas rapport. Fuck, ça n'a pas rapport avec le sticker. Hein? Il y avait des chiffres sur le banc tantôt, dans le truc du 333, c'était 247. Et l'autre chiffre devrait être 3, I guess, comme bon.
Correct. This is a bucket. Item 4. Is this a bucket? Correct. This is a tractor and not a bucket. To be honest, I just sort of put this one in here as a gimme, but I was starting to get concerned
Prochain,
that
c'est un
even
saut,
this
hein.
might be too much for you. Thank you for not making me look like an idiot. Okay, next one.
Ok, tu vas bien, Ça, c'est un bucket,
Is this a bucket?
oui.
Correct. This is a bucket.
Le dernier saut, c'est les deux, hein? C'est ça? Peu importe l'affaire qu'on met.
Item 6. Is this a bucket? Trick question. Both. Gotcha.
C'est con.
Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere. Yes. Thank you. There's nothing here. Of course it isn't a bucket.
On a juste des bonnes
We
réponses.
both know full well that nothing isn't a bucket. Wait, when I say nothing isn't a bucket, that makes it sound like I'm saying everything is a
C'est la même
bucket, which
affaire.
of course is not true. Unless, is that what you think? Answer me straight, Stanley. Are you trying to tell me that you believe everything is a bucket? You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of
Par rapport, c'est la
perspective.
même ligne de
What is a
dialogue.
bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago, I could answer these questions with confidence. And yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket? Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely. Okay, here we go. What happened? Is everything gone?
C'est
Why
ça,
did
tout à l'heure, c'est ça
everything
qu'il a dit.
disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket. Oh my God, I had no idea.
J'étais plus sûr que c'était ça qu'il avait dit tout à l'heure.
Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue, but it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what, I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person? All right, here we go.
Bon. What?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Hein? C'est pas la même pièce? C'est quoi cette affaire-là? C'est quoi qui se passe? Attendez, c'est quoi qui s'est passé? C'est à cause du coup de téléphone? Je devrais-tu prendre le bucket? Je devrais pas. Oh, je sais plus quoi faire. Je sais plus! Le téléphone il sonnait, j'ai répondu. C'est quoi que la fille a dit déjà? Ouvre les portes.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
J'ai fini le jeu? Ah, sac. Le narrateur, il va japper. C'est ça? Genre, le narrateur, il va juste japper comme un chien tout le long, mais ça me semble que c'est ça, ça me rappelle de quoi? C'est ça? Là, je veux juste savoir de quoi. C'est-tu la fin du jeu? Ou je me retape le jeu encore? Le clavier change. C'est pas la fin. Là, je sais plus. Je devrais-tu prendre le saut? Attends une minute, Iraz. Ce qu'il y a devant moi, là, ça va-tu être les fins normales? Parce que là, si je prends le saut, je verrai jamais ça. Je suis tout mêlé, là. Qu'est-ce que je devrais faire? Ça veut quoi? Fuck le saut. Je vais sans saut, ok? Oui, à quoi? Ah, c'est... Jim! Pas... Jim Rose. Je prends le saut ou je prends pas le saut? Oui ou non? Bon choix. Les choix qui vont devant moi, là. C'est les mêmes que les mêmes normales? Fais le grand saut. C'est les mêmes, mais pourquoi ils m'ont mis ça?
It takes a lot of humility to carry a bucket so magnificent. Stanley checked his ego and then proceeded onward.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Je vais me jeter en bas.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his
J'ai
left
jamais pris
to
ce
go
chemin-là
back
pour
to the
retourner
meeting
au
room.
bureau. Salle de meeting.
No.
said the bucket.
Don't
Juste
go
rare
to
de
the
l'avoir.
meeting room. Go somewhere else.
Attention,
The
checker mes ça, je me
cargo
pitch en bas.
lift, yes. Good.
Said the bucket.
But Stanley feared that any path he walked might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend. So he threw himself to his death, that they might die in one another's arms. How deeply touching.
Là, tout est revenu normal. Ok, hey, pour vrai, je pense que je vais arrêter ça là. Un peu comme le bureau plein de papier au sol. Genre, ok, c'est juste des trucs qui sont random, c'est aléatoire. Ok, le bureau bleu. Puis genre le papier au sol. Ok. Bon, je pense que pour ce soir, ça va être assez. J'ai beaucoup aimé mon expérience, c'était incroyable. Surtout le nouveau contenu. Ok, on a plein de nouvelles fins avec le saut pis tout, mais quand on est dans la partie là, qui appelle Stanley Parable 2, là. Oh, c'est malade, genre. Le trou sans fin ou presque. Ah, c'est que c'était bon. C'était tellement bon, là. Je sais pas si demain je vais retourner, parce que là, je sais plus qu'est-ce que je pourrais faire. Faudrait quasiment que je me spoil pour savoir dans quelle direction aller, puis faire quel move, genre. Pour vrai, je sais plus. En tout cas, bref, je vais arrêter ça là. Merci pour le stream ce soir, c'était vraiment cool. Pourquoi 2? Pourquoi c'est sur l'écran titre? Incroyable. Ils ont laissé le 2, ouais. Au pire, le chat te dira dans quelle direction aller, dans les fins ou pas. Ben, y a personne qui connaît le jeu à part toi, Rose. Jim Rose. Ah! Je suis plus capable de donner mon RP. Genre peut-être Benito, toi? On a fini les portes? Je pense que oui. Bon, on va retourner sur l'écran titre. On va aller dans la messe noire. C'était bon. Très très bon. J'ai-tu des achievements? Oh my god, ça prend genre 2000 ans pour l'éteindre. J'ai 4 achievements sur 11. On pourrait peut-être regarder les noms. Test, achievement, description, replace 10. Quittez le jeu et relancez-le. Heureux de vous revoir. Je le Stanley Parable pendant tout un mardi. Ah! Faut jouer durant tout un mardi. C'est quoi cette affaire-là? 8. Terminer Stanley Parable en moins de 4 minutes 32. 4 minutes 22 secondes. Temps de chargement non compris. Hein? Placez tous les curseurs de réglage de menu sur tous les chiffres disponibles. Quoi? Ne jouez pas de Stanley Parable pendant 10 ans! Pendant 10 ans qu'ils disent va jouer dehors! C'est 10 ans, je joue pas pendant 10 ans! Ok. Ce jeu-là, il m'épuise. Ce jeu-là, il m'épuise.